They blame me for what happened. They say that by choosing faith, I gave up on my daughter, that I chose superstition over science. The doctors, they had their words, schizophrenia, psychosis. But they weren't there in the dead of night. They didn't hear the voice that came out of my daughter, a voice ancient, speaking a language strange to this world.
My Lyra, she was light. Her fingers would dance across the canvas. It all started so quietly. She spoke of a crooked man in the corner of her room. We dismissed it as nightmares. But the shadow she saw began to leave marks. Scratches on her arms, objects moving on their own. The doctors were our first hope. Medications that left her hollowed out. A ghost in her own home. But the thing inside her, it laughed. I could see it in her eyes. That wasn't my daughter. It was a predator, amusing itself with the confusion of the men in white coats. They tried to explain everything, but how does science explain the smell of sulfur that clung to her bedroom? Desperation led me to Father Ignacio, an old man, his shoulders stooped by the weight of the world. He listened patiently, but his eyes were skeptical. He'd seen grief drive people to delusion before. He agreed to visit Lyra, more out of pity for me than belief in my story. He entered her room with the caution of a soldier in a minefield. He tried to speak to Lyra in a calm voice. The reply didn't come from my daughter. The thing inside her smiled, a smile too wide for her face, and called him by a childhood nickname, one that nobody alive knew. It told him of a sin he'd committed in the seminary, whispering the details in his ear from across the room. That's when I saw the old priest tremble. The crucifix on his neck didn't just grow hot, it smoked, leaving a red welt on his skin. He walked out of the room, pale, and only said, "Prepare the house. It will be a long night." The ritual, it was a war. He instructed me to cover the mirrors, to line the windows with salt. The entire house seemed to hold its breath, cold and silent. During the ritual, the screams weren't human, and the voice didn't just come from her. It came from the walls, the ceiling. Whispers surrounded me, using my late husband's voice to blame me for his failings. It mocked the priest, listing the names of others he, in his youth, had failed to save. Lyra's body twisted at impossible angles, her bones popping. I held her hand the whole time, even when she tried to bite and claw at me with a strength that wasn't her own. I saw evil in her eyes, and for one fleeting moment I saw my Lyra, terrified, begging me for help from behind that mask of hatred. The struggle went on for hours until, with one last violent spasm that made the bed frame crack, everything stopped. An icy wind swept through the room, snuffing out the candles, plunging us into darkness, and then silence. A terrible peace. The presence was gone, but it took my Lyra with it. Her body, so small and frail, just gave out. The official report reads, "System collapse due to extreme stress." The doctors say the condition consumed her. They look at me with pity and accusation. Let them look. They have their books and their charts. I know what was in that room. I know what we fought, and I know my daughter wasn't unwell. She was haunted.